Welcome to the After Dark podcast with Anthony James and Konrad. This is an extra episode for your YouTube comments because Anthony James and Konrad could not stop rambling on. What a pair of schmucks.
Hello, and welcome to the After Dark podcast. I'm Anthony James, and that's Konrad. How are you, Konrad?
Hello! You call me out again.
Twice in 3 episodes I've done that to you. Maybe that's the new intro.
Maybe I just need to learn to move with the times.
Maybe just put me across as a dick from the start and people will be alright.
Yeah. Establish your heel persona early on.
I'm sorry.
I'm doing well. I'm still sore from the gym because that was a conversation we had like 2 hours ago. How are you doing?
I'm still not sore from the yoga because it is not tomorrow yet.
Yep.
But I did do core yoga about 4 days ago, and that is just easing off now, that pain.
Did you get sore from it? I normally find yoga to be... Maybe I just don't do intense enough yoga.
Oh, I'm doing DDP yoga. I'm doing DDP yoga.
Okay.
Dynamic resistance. Yeah, it's like a proper... Like this. Even some wrestlers do it now instead of weights, and they still look jacked. So
Chris Jericho does it.
Yeah, it's well, he doesn't look jacked, but you know,
No.
it's in place of weights for some people. Like, yeah, and let's not overestimate how sedentary my life is. Okay, all right, guys, subscribe to the podcast on YouTube on audio apps. Can you please like the podcast on YouTube? That would do us a big favor. If you want to ask Konrad a question, leave a comment on the main episodes. And if you want to send us an email, it's adpodmail@gmail.com. Any donations you can throw our way to improve the show, the link is in the description, and that we're very appreciative of that. Thank you very much. Apart from that, I think I've just motored through that. That's the best I've ever done.
Yeah, bloody hell. That's like 2 minutes you did that in. That is outrageous. Remember the bad old days when people complained that we took like 8 minutes to get to the actual episode?
Yeah,
now look at you.
Timestamps in the bar for a reason, guys.
But yeah, now look at you flying through it.
Can you imagine being like, I care so little about these people talking that I want them just to talk about Dark, but I do care about them enough to want to know what they think of the show.
Yeah. It's a very, very narrow set of parameters that I'm prepared to listen to these people talk.
Yeah, exactly. All right, anyway, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
A stranger from the outside.
First question comes from Alex. And Alex says, has Konrad noticed that people in the mirror world are genuinely less selfish and more honest? Ulrich being Ulrich aside.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ulrich.
We have Alexander being more helpful and the kids not going after a drug stash but rather going to the cave to look for Eric. Now, I said that last week and you actually thought they were going for the drugs.
They say the cops maybe didn't clean everything out. So they definitely are still looking for drugs. That's the implication I took from that.
All right, so Alex goes on and says, there are other things to point out for more spoiler reasons I won't. Okay, so your point is that Alex is wrong.
Well, I don't think I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm trying to think of other characters. Charlotte's definitely worse than she was. Like, she's a lot more selfish. I think it
depends on how you view the church. Is Peter worse or better? It depends.
Yeah.
Haven't seen enough of him, I suppose.
I think what Alex has identified here is that there are a lot of very fundamentally selfish characters in Dark. So when their characters are mirrored, they get better. And the characters who are fundamentally good, because there's less of them, it's less obvious when they get worse. But if you look at like the good guys, like Magnus is worse. I don't like he's still fun and, you know, charming and roguish, but he is a nastier version of himself than real world Magnus and Charlotte is as well. So I think it's more that what you struck upon there is there are more bad characters than good characters in this show.
Yeah, and I actually am thinking of a particular point in the future in an episode we haven't seen yet where Magnus, he's not like the worst man in the world, like, but he definitely shows that he's a little less caring.
Yeah.
Than the Magnus of our original world. So
yeah, he's just a bit more of a dickish teenager in the old world, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Sean Springer says, questions for both you and Konrad. Do you think that there is a world out there where Ulrich can keep his junk in his pants?
No, it's impossible.
Yeah, no.
It's not his fault though, because it's pre-written that he will do it. It's like everything that every woman that Ulrich has sex with is predetermined.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, you can't choose what you want, and he wants every woman.
Yeah, exactly. Can't blame him.
Yeah, exactly. Agnes is lucky that she's related to him. That's what I'll say. Oh, actually, in this show, you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
It hasn't stopped plenty of characters. So
yeah, exactly. All right, Ulrai77 says, when the show is about sins and we have Adam and Noah, is there a Jesus? And who might be bejesus?
So I think I did think about that.
He said who might be Jesus, but my head put bejesus. I don't know.
Yeah, that scared the bejesus out of me.
Help me, Jeebus!
So I did think briefly in season 2 about there potentially being a sort of Jesus analog, and I think you could probably make an argument that there is one, but it seems to me that they're more limiting themselves to like Old Testament stuff. So Jesus isn't really going to play a part in it. Like the salvation of mankind is maybe somewhere in the future, but it's not happening within the confines of this show. But there are definitely characters who are displaying the kind of qualities one would expect of the savior of humanity, like selflessness and philanthropy.
Yeah, I have a theory on that. Go and watch Dark Discussions episode on it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's not even a theory. I think I'm just right.
Okay.
Very clear. There's a particular character that even looks a bit like Jesus.
Is it Peter Doppler?
No, he's actually Saint Peter at the gates. The Tannhaus gates.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Anyway, so Beatrice says, "Oh no, this isn't a question, but I'll ask it anyway. I've just made a mistake, right?" Beatrice says, "Shouldn't this be for episode 2? Because I accidentally wrote episode 1. All right, Beatrice, you wrote a question in the question zone. It got me live recording. I answered you in the text form, but this is just how we roll, folks. This is what we do.
Beatrice was correct as well, so you
were right. So,
is the answer to that.
Yeah, Beatrice is +1 in the theory matrix, her own theory matrix. Right. Okay, but Beatrice does have some actual questions now. Any theories about what will happen to Peter?
Which one? That's the first question.
Well, we'll go with our Peter.
I'd like, our Peter. Alternate Peter has got 3 days to live by the sounds of things. So we didn't actually mention that in the main episode, but yeah, the world's going to blow up in 3 days.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that at all, actually.
Well,
been there, done that.
Noah says he's killed. I think he's going to have a really pointless, futile death. I think that would be a really sad way for him to go, and I could see it happening. So maybe he'll get into an argument with some soldiers as they're trying to leave, and they'll shoot him. Or I think it's going to be someone's going to shoot him for some stupid reason, and he's going to die, and Ellie's going to have to turn to Noah because she has no one else. That's my suspicion as to what's happening with Peter in 2020. As to kind of what's happened to him previously, he's got to be around in like 1888. I feel. He's knocking about somewhere in that timeline. I don't know where he is, but he's about.
Just wanders into the Tannhaus factory and goes, "Any work for me, Gov?"
Yeah, sack over his shoulder, like, "Oi, oi!"
All right, number 2 from Beatrice. Where do you think the Tronta that kills Regina came from? Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I guess he wasn't in the bunker, was he?
Was he brought from the past just for this? Or did he actually survive the apocalypse and is still around there somewhere?
He must have been saved in 2020. He must have been saved before the apocalypse by someone. And we just didn't see it. Because he wasn't in the bunker. He wasn't in the cave.
And bushes don't provide enough cover.
Well, I mean, maybe he was trimming those bushes because, like, he was
covered in the leaves.
He was putting like a lead lining in it or something to protect him from the blast.
Jeez, it was a long game the whole time.
I think, who could it have been? Old Cloudy is dead, so it can't have been her. Or maybe, I suppose it could have been alternate Martyr. She turns up. Actually, yeah, she walks in the door, doesn't she? At Jonas's.
When
she saves Jonas at the end of season 2, Martyr walked in the
Martyr.
door.
Yeah, she walks in the door.
Rather than teleporting in, implying she was off doing something else in 2020 before she did it. So I think maybe she saved him. That's my call. That's my call.
Are you committing that to a theory?
All right. I mean, why not? Why
It's
not?
a bit of yeah.
It's a bit. Well,
I mean, like we're gone by the same rules as we were in the very beginning of season 1. Anytime he said anything, it was a theory.
Yeah. All right. Hold. Martyr. Say it. Sorry if you can hear me typing, folks. I apologise. Tronta. There we go. It's in the Matrix. On your head, be it, Beatrice. If it turns out to be wrong, and it cost me a point.
Okay, Beatrice, your last question about St. Christopher's pendant and how it got to where it was and all that sort of thing. I'm going to leave that because we did talk about it extensively. I'm sure you're already happy with that answer. And then Beatrice says, in the off chance Konrad didn't look at Eva's family tree, please ignore the following questions. We'll ignore them.
Nah.
We'll ignore them.
That's harsh. Harsh mistress.
Exactly. So, Belinda... And I just want to I don't think I've ever really given Belinda a shout out for this on the Afterlife podcast before. But Belinda is the reason I started watching The Expanse. She started popping into different videos and saying, "You should watch The Expanse. You should watch The Expanse." And now I just absolutely love it. Can't wait for season 5 coming out.
I'm almost done with season 3
And Conrad's
now.
watching it too now.
Yeah, it's very good.
Have you still on season 3?
Yeah, I just what was the last episode I watched? They just pushed the documentary crew out of the airlock because the cameraman put something on the Rocinante that broke things.
That cameraman was a bit weird.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Kept on propositioning Amos, which was a bit like, all right,
Yeah.
take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy,
He said
mate.
no once, all right?
Yeah. So you've only got 2 weeks to catch up on that now. The season 5's coming out 16th.
Oh,
Pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll do my best to catch up.
Yeah, so Belinda says, how crushed will Konrad be if he doesn't like the ending of Dark?
I mean, I think Game of Thrones is a good example of, like, I consider myself to be someone who doesn't necessarily need something to end well to still get something from it. So I still really like Game of Thrones. I think the first... I said I really like the first 5 seasons, and then someone in the comments on that episode was like, oh, this was terrible. And I do agree the Dawn one was actually terrible. So it's like the first 4 were good, then the 5th one was terrible, 6th one was okay, 7th was a bit bad. But anyway, even if the last episode is rubbish, the first 3, like most of the first 3 seasons, or 2 seasons and 2 episodes have been so good that it won't crush me to not see it end well. It would be really lovely if it did, but there's still been a bunch of amazing stuff that's gone before it that won't be spoiled by that.
Yeah, if you only value something based on its ending, I don't think that's a very healthy way to go through life. But we're not giving life advice.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, that's actually our new podcast idea.
Welcome to the After
Life advice from Anthony
podcast.
Konrad.
Yeah,
you send us your problems and we'll sort them out for you. Don't worry, we're on the case. So Beware of Boredom says, someone might have already asked this, but do you think think of the fact that even in a world where Jonas never existed, Bartos still isn't Martyr's first choice? Yeah, so I said that in the episode last week. I think that is hilarious to be honest.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Unfortunately, with Bartos,
even with the lovely hair, you know.
That
even
hair.
with lovely hair.
That feathered effect on his 80s hair in the it's not really 80s hair because it's 2019, but in the alternate reality is something special.
Oh yeah, he's lovely. He's a lovely man. So Cal Cali says, in season 3, I started to grow fond of Bartos. Treading on hot coals here, Kel.
Christ.
Both his 1888 self and his alt world self.
You are nuts if you like his alt world self. Like, he is awful.
What's
Sorry,
wrong with
carry
him?
on. The alt world, he looks like a serial killer. Like,
Yeah, we've talked about that actually. Huey Lewis in the news and all.
he literally looks like Patrick Bateman. Like, it's an awful look. 1888, I will grant you, he made me laugh in this episode, so I am coming round on him.
Yeah, coming around on Bartos.
Yeah.
So as to Konrad and Anthony, have you warmed up to Bartos over time? Given that he was one of your most disliked characters in season 1, warmed up is a strong phrase.
Yeah. It's in a way like warmed up in the sense that when I put like some chicken, when I take it out of the freezer and put it into the fridge, technically it is warming up, but it's still very cold and also deadly to eat.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That's how I feel about Bartos. I don't want to consume
I was
him.
thinking like in terms of warmed up for me, it's like you're sitting like Bear Grylls naked in the middle of the Antarctic, and
Yeah.
someone hands you a hot water bottle. It's not gonna do much.
Yeah. I mean, he couldn't have gotten worse. Let's be honest. There was
Yeah,
only
yeah.
one way for Bartos to go, and God bless him, he's trying.
He's trying. We'll see how he goes the rest of the time. So Eric says, for both of you, the unknown is so unsettling. How sad are you that we didn't get a Helga version of the unknown character? We came so close. I think what he means is like the 3 Helgas in one go.
Yeah.
We came so close in the 80s. I wish there was a blooper reel of younger, middle, and older Helga being existentially dysfunctional together for contrast.
Helga does feel a bit like a sort of proto-unknown to me. Like, they're sort of... I don't know why. Maybe it's the scarring and the fact that he's a bit off, but that he feels like
That was their first go at it.
Sigmundus' first attempt at creating like a 3 generations of super soldier or whatever like the unknown is. But I don't think they just wouldn't have spoken to each other. Like old Helga would have just been like, you know, he's got Alzheimer's, so he wouldn't have had much to say. Middle Helga would have probably eaten some rider bars and made an acorn surfer, and young Helga would have literally said nothing because he only responds to Noah. So it would essentially just be 3 men or 2 men and a boy sitting silently in a room.
What a sitcom though.
Yeah, imagine the scenes.
2 men and a boy. What could we call it?
Don't know, no idea. There's no name I could possibly come up with.
The main character has to have tiger blood. That's
Yeah.
the only rule. Yeah.
We should put Greta in that as well. Actually, she could spice things up.
Yeah, she could be the maid.
Yeah.
Right. I'm 2.5 men. I'm not saying all women should be maids. Okay. So Pep Cool says, does Konrad think there exists another alternate world where Claudia managed to have the meeting with the French delegation?
Yes, I think in one alternate timeline, Claudia got that meeting, and everything that happens in Vinden actually happens in a small town in Normandy instead.
Yeah.
where the French delegation are from.
Okay. I like my theory better. The French delegation traveled forward in time,
Yep.
and then got hung by Elizabeth.
Yep.
That's just perfect writing. I think
Yep.
that just works. All right, next one from Mo says, how does Konrad think the apocalypse in the alternate world will happen, and what will cause it? Good question. How similar will it be to our world, or completely different, since there's no Clausen to cause it this time? We're assuming there's no Clausen, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I feel like maybe Jonas will cause it, because, I mean, he's got 3 days to get back, so he's going to have to do something to get back, so maybe him leaving will cause it, since he seems to be the only one who's kind of really engaging with the time travel stuff there. Obviously, Alt Martyr or Eva as well. But yeah, there's not really been much about the power plant or things going wrong. I guess the fact that it hasn't been shown, like we were discussing in the last episode, kind of implies the same kind of things are happening. So there's like the barrels of cesium-137. So maybe, I mean, based on what we saw... In fact, actually, based on what we saw at the end of season 2, with like lots of portals being activated at the same time and them kind of mirroring each other, maybe there's something where they can be activated across worlds as well as across times, and Jonas is going to go and touch a portal when that happens, and that's what's going to take him back to the real world, and that's also going to cause the apocalypse like it appeared to in the real world. Maybe that's what's going to happen.
Whoa.
It needs someone to touch a portal. That seems like the thing that sets it all off.
Yeah, that's happened there. That's what's caused explosions in this show every time. So
Yeah.
it's a fair enough theory.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lord Stannis asks, the stranger tells Martyr that he never went to her world. How would this be possible?
What, as in, how is it possible that they've met if Strange never went to her world?
No, like how is it possible that Stranger never went, because we've seen Jonas in that world?
Well, I mean, we sort of briefly touched on this last week, so
yeah, let's hammer down what your theory is now as to how that is.
So Stranger, his past has already happened. So whatever happens to the current Jonas it's not going to change what Stranger has experienced, because
Stranger is... Do you not view Stranger as the older version of the current Jonas?
he is, but he has already lived his past. So if something happens to Jonas, it doesn't mean it happened to Stranger. Sorry, I'm going to have a drink, so I'm going to cough before I launch into this.
Okay, so, well, basically it can all come down to is that you think each cycle can be different.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fundamentally I think that's the case. And I think Stranger has had his past, and Jonas is coming along, is kind of going to, for the most part, have the same experiences that Stranger had. But in this case, this is a big difference. And the fact that it has happened already, that Martyr has already met Jonas and is therefore coming to bring him back so that they can meet again, is the bootstrap paradox. So she has to, by her bringing Jonas there, what appears to be the first time, she has created the paradox where it never actually starts. It's always been happening this time, but because Stranger has already lived his cycle, it doesn't change any of the experiences that he had, even though it should do, because Jonas is experiencing them himself. So
are you suggesting that there's now 2 cycles happening, or do you think that once Stranger grows up to Adam and then eventually dies of old age, or however it happens, then that cycle is over? How would that work in terms of maintaining the new cycle? Because there needed to be a particular cycle to get to that point for it to work. So how does that all square?
Well, I think like the Jonas Stranger Adam thing is one massive cycle across that, kind of like, it's almost like a Venn diagram, I guess. It kind of joins all the other cycles together. So Jonas is never going to grow up to be Adam, and to Stranger, and Stranger's never going to grow up to be Adam. Like, we're not actually going to see those characters age. We just have them at these 3 distinct points in their life. Okay. And they will, they'll age a bit, like we're seeing with the Stranger. He is becoming more Adam-like. But there will come a point where their cycle stops, and it's not gonna end when, like, Adam is dead and then Stranger dies and then the current Jonas dies. It's going to end at a sort of predetermined point in that cycle, and then a new one will begin where we have a Jonas, a Stranger, and an Adam. So I'm almost kind of treating them as, even though they're the same person, I'm treating them almost as like 3 separate individuals that kind of operate independently of each other, even though they are sharing 90% of the same experiences.
Okay, interesting. And Vic Disco. Oh, hang on. I think Vic's going to ask me a question that is... Oh, okay. Actually, this isn't spoiler filled, so
okay,
so I can ask it. This question relates to you, Anthony. Konrad later, obviously. That's what made me think there might be a spoiler, but there's not. Have you watched any of the tribute videos of Dark put out by any other YouTubers? I've watched a few, and they're incredible. So there's some really great videos people have made, like sort of just artistic edits of the show with their own music over, or like with music from the show over. And I've watched a few of them. Yeah, some of them are unbelievable. In fact, there was a subscriber to this channel who put up. They were a new subscriber, so I went and checked out their channel. Most of the time, when people subscribe to the channel, I'll check their channel out to see if they've got any of their own content. And this particular person, I can't remember at all. If I can find it, I'll let you know. But they had a really cool like version and edit of the opening credits, and they did it with themselves in the video, like mirroring and all. It was really cool. Like the stuff that is inspired by this show is really mind blowing to me, because in the real world, not many people know of it. Or they maybe say, oh yeah, I saw that on Netflix. Maybe I'll watch that. So it's great. Like internet's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good way to get the world out there, and there's a lot of craft in this show. So I'm not surprised that people with talent take it upon themselves to make passion projects that are inspired by it.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. Right. Yeah. So the next question is from Kali Denza. Kali Denza said, "Does Konrad know which of the triplets are real father and son? Make him guess." I think we did mention that already.
Yeah, you told me last week, but I'm happy to guess and get it right. It was the middle one, the top one. Top one, oldest one is what I should... That's the correct way of saying that.
Yeah. So Mike actually sort of points out something here that we were talking about when Halloween is celebrated. And Mike just says the school kids were dressed up because it was theater week at school. You could see the posters for that on the school entrance door and in the hallway.
Oh, so they just get to wear whatever costumes they want, and they happen to be wearing Halloween-y looking ones.
Yeah, well, they're probably all just using their Halloween costume from the week before.
Yeah, I guess you repurpose them. Parents don't want to shell out more money for another costume.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a theatre week? I want a theatre week in schools. That sounds really good.
We didn't have a theatre week, to be honest with you. I was talking to one of my classes today about the idea of theatre, and I've done theatre and musical before. Never in school though. My school didn't really do much. Did Annie once. I wasn't a part of it, but I said to the boys in school today. I teach an all boys school, if you didn't know. So I said to the boys today in school, listen, boys, think about like all your heroes, like all the actors that you like. You know, a lot of the musicians you like. I said most of them. Think about someone who would be in the theater during secondary school. You know, most famous actors were probably teased for doing that when they were young, and it's really strange. And we sort of had a big discussion, and it was really strange, the idea that, you know, the cool kids and the ones that just want to make a laugh all the time and, you know, not concentrate on anything. You know, they're not the ones that actually influence the world, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, they do in a way, but, you know, it was just a nice little discussion we're having. What do you think?
I think being passionate about something is the real way to be cool.
Yeah, it's the real way to be cool. Yeah, that's what I was driving at with the boys, to be honest with you. Because, you know, we don't like to see bullying, do we? But anyway, guys.
Unless it's on Bartos.
You wouldn't believe it. And I know that we're going to get a lot of comments on this question, this video, saying only 28 minutes or whatever. But yeah, that's all it is, because we don't have any more questions. We're done.
Wow.
What do you think, Konrad?
That's the quickest we've ever done a questions video, I think.
I think our first one was maybe 20.
Yeah.
We always intended the question and answer videos to be very short extras.
And then they end up starting to be like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, like there's been at least one that's been an hour and 20 minutes. Like, usually they're around 45 minutes at this point. But this week, you know, we actually got to do what we intended for it. But, you know, not that we wouldn't go longer again. But thanks very much, guys. That's us for this week. This Monday, we're going to be having episode 3. So look forward to that.
That's my 4 horsemen. I can't.
Sorry, I can't. My finger's too short.
Yeah, well, I've got weird fingers.
3.
There we go. 3.
So 3. So we're going to be looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to hearing Konrad's views. Any final thoughts before we go for the week, Konrad?
Let us know in the comments if you want us to do a thing on the floor. I know that's very descriptive. Let us know if you want me to do it. I deliberately didn't, but I'm happy to recant that position if enough people want us to.
I think that's interesting, and I would like to do that possibly, but we'll see. All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Subscribe on audio apps as well. Send us an email, adpodmail@gmail.com. If you have anything to ask us or tell us or criticize us, send it there. Donations, there's a tip jar link in the description. We'd be really appreciative if you could throw us a couple of coppers. It helps us improve the show, make it better quality for you. I think we've proven in the past that we do use the donations very well. All the donations we've got has made the podcast get to the production value it is at. But we got a ways to go, right? I don't know what was that. Oh, I think that was actually someone I don't want to mention on the podcast. An impression of someone I'm not going to mention.
Okay, good, excellent.
Yeah, I think you know why, Konrad. So, thanks very much for watching, guys. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the After Dark podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.